Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Prep Football Preview Show presented by FriendshipCars.com. This is our weekly football special where we highlight the games on Friday night. I'm Kenny Hawkins, and I know that these two missed me last week.
Always, baby,
They wrote it
always.
that I missed them. I mean, I'm get crazy now. In here with Jesse Crawl and also Michael Epps. And I know these two are ready to bring the juice for this week's game. It's week 4 in Tennessee, and it is week 3 in Virginia. So let's get this preview show started. We begin with David Crockett and Dobbins Bennett. I put my specs on. The Dobbins Bennett Indians are having one of the best starts to the season of any team in the area. 3-0, outscoring opponents 115 to 27. Their defense has been stout. Their offense hasn't skipped a beat after losing all of their seniors. They take on David Crockett tomorrow night at J. Fred Johnson Stadium. These teams have only met 6 times, and Dobbins Bennett has dominated the series. In fact, I think Crockett has only scored 27 points in the series. Now, on paper, this is supposed to be a 6A win because they're the biggest school. Right now, let's talk about Dobbins Bennett playing really well. I mean, even quarterback by committee or quarterback by running or running back by committee is working for Joey Christian.
Hey, there's a lot of offense on this team, and not only was it last week's game against Morris County, which they won 43-7, but I think overall this season, and I'm not going to say they surprised some people, but some people might have not expected this from this team. They chalked up 454 total yards, and a lot of the credit has to go to the offense. You brought up the quarterbacks, Jake Carson, Noah Blankenship. They each had combined 317 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the defense caused 5 interceptions, and when you have a defense that's able to buckle down and take away any opportunity that the offense has like that, I think you're going to be destined for success as well. And looking at my notes here as well, 8 receivers had 1 catch or more, so that's pretty amazing right there. And Hayden Shear, he had 4 receptions for 110 yards. So I think it's very interesting how this team kind of leaned on 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 players last year for their offensive production, and now this year, they're kind of just sharing the ball and just tossing around the field and see who comes up with it.
Yeah, I think Coach said that Jake Carson played, I think, 2/3 of the snaps at quarterback. So he's starting to increase his workload. I think the offense and Christian's getting more comfortable with him. But Noah Blankenship still brings a lot to the table with his speed and athleticism. So he's bringing a change of pace, and I think he's also playing some downs at the other positions on the field, even when Carson is the quarterback. So I think they have a pretty good system going. Carson's really talented. He's tall and athletic, and I think Coach is pretty happy with his progress so far. I think he's just a junior, so pretty big time to see them start to figure out that position. But Coach keeps saying, hey, no, we got to be better. We got to get better. And I don't know. I mean, to outscore opponents, you said, Kenny, 115 to 27. I mean, only allow 27 points through the first 3 games is pretty impressive no matter who you play. And the offense is rolling after losing its core. So I think it's pretty impressive that they're starting this way. But Crockett's got a good team as well.
And we had an opportunity to talk to Joey Christian about this football team. And really, as Michael just said, no disrespect to David Crockett because he has all the respect in the world for what the Pioneers have done. But Coach Christian says it's really all about us right now.
Well, I see a very well-coached team. I think Coach Chandley does an unbelievable job there. You can just tell how hard their kids play. You can tell scheme, just how well their scheme is designed and the things they do to get the ball in their playmakers' hands are things that we're going to, obviously we're going to have trouble with on defense.
Their line, they got some big cats. They're pretty athletic, pretty physical. But I feel like, our line will stack up with them, and if we do our stuff, I think we'll be okay.
I'm expecting them to be a good team, expect them to be physical. I think we'll be more physical, though. And we're preparing for everything they got. We're going to see a lot of the run. Number 4 is going to be at QB. I expect that.
You know, we talk about surprising that DB's 3-0. Really, the surprise to me is maybe David Crockett being 2-1. They actually should be 3-0. I mean, they were leading Letcher County a couple of weeks ago, 21-0, and ended up losing that contest. Michael, let's talk about David Crockett. Basically, they already are playing. Well, we're little old David Crockett, and they're Dobbins Bennett. Will that work in this game? I mean, will the Indians fall for that?
I don't think so. I mean, Christian's got a pretty good sense of where his team's at right now. I know Chandley's always doing a great job in his region. I mean, they won the region 2 of the last 3 years, so they've been getting it done in these conference games. And I think that the non-conference games, they've done a good job even in losses to compose, recompose, and start to figure out where they need to improve. I think they did that a lot last year in those non-conference losses to Science Hill, and I think they lost to Ottawa last year as well. So I think they're taking these opportunities as, you know, room for growth. And so even if they do lose this game, I mean, there's still a lot to take out of facing a state-ranked team up in 6A. But, I mean, this is not a cupcake. David Crockett's got a lot of talent. I like Brennan Reed. You know, Braden Reed, Jesse, we keep mixing those guys up, but they're both
always. It's tough.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about the Pioneers so far, Jesse. You know, when you listen to Coach Chandley, even he seems a little surprised that this team right now is as good as they are. I mean, let's be honest. They lost the best player in the area, our player of the year last year, in Prince Colley, who, by the way, is now at Notre Dame, who, by the way, is second on the depth chart, who, by the way, is probably going to see some action this weekend for Notre Dame. But, as Michael just mentioned, they've had some guys to really step up. And this team is looking good. I mean, that was kind of a surprising win last week against West.
Yeah, those Braden Reed and Braden Reed are just absolutely dynamic. No matter if you're throwing the ball or running the ball, both those guys are going to step up. Jake Fox also under center. Not the strongest game last week, 6 for 11, 48 yards and a touchdown. But I think Hayden Chandley really just wanted to, you know, run the ball and get it, you know, a little in the dirty areas, running in trenches and everything like that. So not surprising there. But they did turn the ball over 4 times. Now you can't be doing that against a Dobbins Bennett team, because as I just mentioned, they have 5 interceptions. So if you're turning the ball over 4 times, that's a recipe for disaster against this Dobbins Bennett team. Now, if you're looking at what this team can do, and you know, being able to focus on their focal points is, they got to be able to run the ball, and they got to be able to, when they are passing the ball, being able to, you know, pick up the yards that they need to pick up. Like I said, Brendan Reed, you know, Jake Fox, whether that's he's throwing the ball or, you know, the RPO, whatever he's doing, he needs to get that done. So when looking at this David Crockett team, I think one thing that also stood out was the defense. 174 yards for Morristown West. Now, it doesn't matter who you're playing. When you're able to hold the team to 174 yards, that's pretty good. So now do I think that's going to happen against David Crockett? Excuse me, I keep on saying that. The DC and the DBs tripping me up a little bit. David Crockett, Dobbins Bennett, 2 Daves, both these. No, but do you think that's going to happen against Dobbins Bennett? Probably not. This offense is too lethal, but anything can happen. I mean, this David Crockett team obviously has plenty of confidence going into this game.
You need to go buy you a can of alphabet soup.
I know, right? I got to help myself out there a little bit.
This show. We had a chance to talk to Coach Chandley about this David Crockett team, and if I can use the words from former ETSU head coach Steve Forbes, he likes his team being gritty and grimy.
So they play extremely hard. That's the number one thing that jumps out on film. They play extremely hard. They flow to the football really well on defense, and they do a good job at establishing the line of scrimmage on offense. So we've got to attack them and match that physicality up front. Take care of the football will be a good place to start, and then defensively we got to win first down and then get off the field on 3rd down.
We're expecting a bunch of hard, but they ride the ball hard. They play really hard defensively. They're always a good team every year. They're up there towards the top of their conference. You know, we're going on there to play our best. Like Coach Chandler said, we just got to be us. We just got to play our game. We can't play a game we can't go away from our game. So we're expecting a good, hard team and just go out there and play our game.
I expect a lot of speed, a lot of dedication to win the game. They're going to come out strong, think they're going to win. But I think if we just work hard enough and just do what we always do, just come here and play football, that we have a chance.
And, of course, Trey Marlowe there, the son of our own Casey Marler. It's a good thing that kid got his talent from his mama, right? I mean,
He's huge,
let's just
too.
say. So, once again, big game
huge.
Friday night. David Crockett on the road to take on Dobbins Bennett. Another big game. The streak has finally come to an end for Elizabeth, and they lost to Greenville last week, ending that 31-game winning streak. They only have 2 true home games after this matchup with Daniel Boone at Citizens Bank Stadium. Big note, this game will be broadcast live, wait for it, on our air on ABC Tri-Cities and also streaming on WJHL.com. Let's begin with Elizabethan as we take a look at highlights of that Greenville game. And, of course, the big question is, most of these kids have never felt this feeling before. I'm sure it hurt that night. Okay, it's like, your first girlfriend breaking up with you. All right, can they get over this?
I think they can get over it. I mean, you got the perfect coach for it. Sean Witten, we know how he is. I mean, obviously a lot of people know how he is too. He's intense. He's a good coach. He's one of these guys that can motivate these kids. Now, as you just mentioned, it's like breaking up with your first girlfriend. That doesn't mean I'm not going to get married. But guess what? It hurts. It hurts at that time, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to get married. So that doesn't mean this team can't win the state championship. Now they, at some point, probably have to face Greenville again. So obviously, pass that bridge when we get there. But focus on the Daniel Boone game. Obviously, you got to kind of rebound from that and chalk it up as, hey, we did get blown out by Greenville. We didn't have the best game. Bryson Rollins only had 84 rushing yards and 110 passing yards. Jake Snake Roberts had a solid outing, 75 yards for him. But this is their homecoming game, so there's going to be a lot of intensity from this Elizabethan team. And I think Sean Witten knows that this team wants to avoid a homecoming loss against Daniel Boone and lose 2 straight games.
Michael, what did Daniel Boone find from last week's game against Greenville as they prepare for Elizabethan?
I mean, I think they figured out how to stop the extremely potent Elizabethan offense, right? Yet Elizabethan couldn't run the ball. Greenville was just too big up front. Elizabethan couldn't run with their 2 running backs, Stevens and Russell. And Rollins tried. He got a couple rushing scores himself, but they were really struggling to run the ball. And Greenville secondary was pretty locked down. And so I think Boone is pretty happy with its secondary. Hagen Edwards is a good guy out there that is going to be able to guard a team's top guy. I'm sure he'll be on Jake the Snake. I don't know. That's going to be a pretty interesting matchup to watch. But I know for Boone, they are able to see that, all right, well, they're not perfect. They're not impossible. And they learned that last year, too. I mean, this was an extremely close game, down to the wire. Obviously, it went down to that blocked field goal from Parker Hughes there in the final minute for Elizabethan to get that win. So I think for Boone, they know, hey, that's just extra confidence that they know they can play with these guys.
We had an opportunity to talk to Cyclones head coach Sean Witt. In fact, have you guys ever talked to him after a loss? Is this first time?
Yeah, it actually is.
For both of you guys? Yeah, I don't think you've talked to him after a loss, but we had a chance to talk to him this week, and obviously the atmosphere was somber, but onward and moving forward was his message to the team.
We just got to bounce back. I mean, regain our confidence, and all you got to do is flip on the film from a year ago and see the Boone film, and we had a block and field goal to win. So we always have great games against Boone. It's homecoming week. We just didn't. There's a sour taste, right now. I mean, there's just a discouraging mood. Guys are disgruntled. They're frustrated and angry. They want to get back out here, and Friday can't come quick enough. And it's all about the way we respond.
We just want to come out and make a statement after that Greenville game, and we really just want to come out and play. And we practiced hard this whole week, and it's been tough. These coaches told us that Friday that it was going to be tough this next week, and they made it tough, and we all just got to get better.
Boone's always a physical opponent, always big, always a good team to play. It's going to be another physical ball game for us. So we really just got to go out there and treat it like any other big game, and we really got something to prove.
All right, guys, let's talk about Daniel Boone, whose song this year has been On the Road Again. These guys have not unpacked a suitcase because they have not played at home. Once again, they're on the road again, playing in Elizabeth. And one of the things that head coach Coach Jenkins told us earlier today when we spoke to him is we've got to find a way to keep this Elizabethan offense off the field. Talk about Daniel Boone.
Well, I think the thing with this Trailblazers team is once they get rolling, they're pretty good. But it's getting rolling at that point. And I think the thing that he brought up too that we can't let Elizabethton make this game out of control. 14-0, 21-0 right off the bat, because then you're just going to be backed into a corner. And I don't know if Daniel Boone has the weapons to get back out of the corner. Now, I think they have the weapons to stay with Elizabethton if they can. But when you're down 21-0 to the two-time defending state champions, it's not good for anyone, let alone Daniel Boone. But Luke Jenkins, he's got a solid arm, and he's got one of his best targets right there in Will Hamlin on the tight end side. I think on the defensive front is really where he kind of emphasized not only the best part about the defense, but the best part about this whole entire team. I mean, you've got guys like Hamlin, Luke Scott, Manny Dunlop, all guys that have experience. So if they're able to get pressure on Rollins and be able to, get that push that Greenville did last week in the trenches, I think this is going to be huge for this Daniel Boone team. Now, if Rollins is able to roll out and they can't catch up to him, I think that's just a recipe for a disaster.
Yeah, and Kenny's back to what you asked about, what have they learned from Elizabethton this year? I think they can learn something from week 1, where in the first half of that game against Science Hill at ETSU, Science Hill was really able to run the ball. I mean, Elizabethton's offensive front is stout, the offensive line is great, but their D-line, Science Hill was able to expose that a little bit. They were pretty big, and they were able to get some holes for Baylor Brock. So I think it's going to be big for Boone to be able to run the ball in this one a little bit, get Aiden Reiner out there who can play quarterback for this team, but he's been really good at running back, like you mentioned, Jesse, and Luke Jenkins at quarterback. They're going to miss Caleb Worley, who's been their guy. He was really one of their only big names coming back after losing those 25 seniors. So I think the recipe is there. It's just a matter of execution, and I think it's a matter of in-game adjustments. We've seen Sean Witten do a great job with Elizabethton in managing games, but that faltered a little bit last week. And so we know what Jeremy Jenkins brings to the table. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this second half goes and see if things aren't working, how is this game going to evolve? It's a pretty interesting matchup. I like it.
And speaking of Jenkins, we had an opportunity to talk to him and his players, and the one thing that stood out to me is the fact that they wanted to make it a point to say they're not scared of the Cyclones.
A lot of people have asked us about that, about competing last year. And, we've got several kids that played in that game last year. They'll be playing tomorrow night. But at the same time, it's two different teams, two different identities. We've got to come out and to match their intensity with because we know they're going to be fired up coming off a loss for the first time in 30-some games. So we know what's expected of us. We've had a really good week of practice, and we expect to go up there and play well.
Oh, I mean, we know we're going to get their best. Even if they had beat Greenville by 40 last week, we would get their best shot this week. But they're going to get our best shot, and we know what we did last year, and we feel as we should have won that game. We're not making excuses. We lost it, but we know we can size up to them. And how good they were last year, we can size up to them just like we did last year this year.
They'll come out mad, lost first game in a while, and I think that they're going to be good, and everybody knows they're good. But we're not scared of them, so we're ready to put up a fight. We're just more worried about ourselves and making sure we play to our best ability.
All right, guys, let's move on to matchup number 3. We have some good football being played in Carter County, and the top 2 county teams are scoring off this Friday up on Roan Mountain. Hampton and Clallan are both off to a 2-0 start. The Bulldogs beat Avery County last week, while the Highlanders couldn't play because their opponent got COVID. But they had a huge Week 2 win over Unaka. Michael, let's talk about this contest. You had a chance to talk to the Bulldogs. This is like family. This is like big brother, little brother. Neither one of them wants to surrender a loss.
Yeah, they love it. I love this rivalry. It's gritty and grimy, like you said earlier. I mean, they really do have a big brother, little brother. I mean, Hampton even says it. This is the game that Clallan circles on the schedule every year. And they played twice last year. Couldn't win either one, but Clallan did beat them a few years ago. So they know how to win this game, and I like what Clallan's bringing, but it's just exciting to have this game up on Roan Mountain. The Bulldogs talked about how that atmosphere up there is incredibly electric, and I know that they're all going to be jacked up for it. They feel a little extra sore after that one.
And Jesse, we're going to talk about Clallan in a second, but let's talk about Hampton and some of the players that they have. It all starts under center. Conor Jones does so much, not only quarterback, but also a defensive back.
I mean, that kid's absolutely phenomenal. He can sling it or he can run it. He's got a good set of wheels on him. I think he turns to the ground game When you see it right here on these highlights. I mean, it's truly incredible. I mean, he can take on 4 or 5 different tacklers and just lower his shoulder. He's so powerful and so good as a passer and a runner. But when you look at this team in a whole, I mean, their running backs are absolute units. You got John Greenwell and Levi Lunsford. Both those guys had over 80 yards last week, and they only carried about under 20 times. So, I mean, you got Greenwell, who had 12 carries, and Lunsford, who had 17. So, I mean, these guys are efficient and know what they're doing. Now, this is going to be a true battle in the trenches. Like I said, this is old school. Coming from Minnesota, it's Big Ten football. Epps knows what I'm talking about with Michigan State.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got that Big Ten football atmosphere. I mean, is it going to be 3-0, 6-0? I don't know. I don't expect that, but who knows? That don't be surprised if there's not a lot of points put up on the board between these two teams. I know this much. It's going to get dirty in the dirty areas, and the trenches are going to be absolutely littered with bodies. They're going to be absolutely getting after it. And this type of football that you like to see in November and October, but now we're seeing it in September.
We had an opportunity to talk to Hampton head coach Michael Lunsford. He was on the losing end of one of those contests. But in the long run, Hampton has dominated the series. They won the last 6 in a row. As we mentioned, they've won 6 of the last 8. So he's very close to both programs, and he talked about that.
It's always a physical game. You know, they're tough and they're hard-nosed, and we're tough and hard-nosed, and they bring it with us and we bring it with them. And so it is. It's a tough physical football game. It's old school. You know, there's not as many highlights in a game like this, but there will be a lot of hits.
I'm most sore after most Cloudland games out of any game of the year, honestly. But it's really just a great game to be able to play in. I think we just need to know our assignments individually. I think we need to, give our all each and every play. Don't take plays off.
Oh, it means a lot. They're just up the road, so it's going to mean a lot to everybody. Can't let them want it more than us. We gotta come out and play hard. I expect them to try to throw some shots deep.
All right, Jesse, let's talk about their opponent, Cloudland. They also come in unbeaten, and let's be honest, it all begins with number 4, and that would be Seth Birchfield.
We always bring it up every week, and I'm going to hit it on it, but it's, you know how it is, Epps, but it's Birchfield, every single Cloudland team. And I think with Seth, he's just able to run the ball well, whether it's fast or he's able to lower the shoulder. I mean, you just heard Lunsford bring it up. It's going to be physical. It's going to be grimy. We're using Forbes, but it's going to be gritty. That game will be gritty. And there's one thing they love to do is they love to run the ball. So if Hampton's able to stop them running the ball, which is a tall task, they had 410 total rushing yards when they faced Unega a couple of weeks ago. But if they're able to stop that, I think they're going to give themselves a good chance to win. But Cloudland, they are efficient when handling that rock in the backfield. So it'll be interesting to see because these two teams are identical with how their offenses are run. So I think it's going to be a good old-fashioned football game.
And, Michael, one of the things that's kind of shocking this year, Cloudland throws the ball a little bit more than they probably have in the past.
Yeah, they looked really impressive in this game that you're seeing right now against Unega. At Unega, that was a big-time win for them that really established that this team is going to be a force here in Class 1A. I think they know what it takes to win. They have quarterback Chase Shell, who knows how to air it out. Like you said, a couple really dynamic receivers in Caleb Sluter and Gage McKinney. It's going to be interesting to see who Hampton's top corner, Michael Harrison, who you just heard in that soundbite, he had 3 interceptions last week. So that guy knows how to lock up a receiver. It'll be interesting to see if he lines up against McKinney or Sluter. They're both really good receivers. So, I mean, as you said, Jesse, this is that gritty, grimy in the trenches. You'd love to see this game be pouring outside, and it's just that mud game where they're just getting after it. But we could see them throw the ball. I mean, Harrison also caught 2 touchdowns. We know Conor Jones has an absolute cannon. He is also extremely accurate. So, I mean, both of these key teams can really pass the ball. That's not what they love. They love to just, punch it right down your throat. But it could be an exciting game that we really see some points put up. And I think they both have weapons. I didn't even know that Morgan Lyons was out for Hampton. He actually broke his ankle back over the summer. So Conor Jones still has been airing it out to guys, and Lyons is going to come back later this year. But that's a big loss for them.
All right, guys, before we head to Southwest Virginia, let's talk about a non-conference affair that will take place here in Johnson City on Friday. We quickly touch on Science Hill bouncing back after that opening week loss to Elizabethton. 2 strong road wins at Anderson County and also West Ridge. Now they return home for the first game on the new turf, Steve Spurrier Field, but they have a tough assignment. Knoxville Powell comes to town. They have the #1 high-profile athlete, none other than Big Walter Nolan. Jesse, is this going to be one of those where Jackson Diamond just needs to get rid of it as soon as it's centered to him?
First off, I think you underplayed it. You said big. This kid is absolutely massive. 6'5", 300 pounds. The kid needs about 2 or 3 different linemen on him just to stop him. And he's just an absolute unit of a man. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. Like I said, you got to double and triple team him. Science Hill's not seeing any linemen. No knock on any lineman from this area. Don't take any offense to this, guys. Whoever's watching.
They shouldn't.
Exactly. But this kid is one of the best linemen Science Hill, if not the best lineman, probably the best lineman they will see all season long. But, here's looking at Powell's offense. It's crazy because everyone's focused on Walter Nolan, but they got weapons all over the field. I mean, they got Adarius Redmond and Aiden Green, who are both wide receivers from this team. Redmond is the #2 prospect in Tennessee for the 2023 class. Green is the #6 prospect in Tennessee for that same class, 2020-23. And, Redmond has 8 SEC offers. Green has offers from UT and Virginia. So these guys can absolutely run with it. So, Nolan's going to bring all the attention. Everyone's going to be looking out for him, which rightfully so. I'm not going to we have no breaking news or anything like that, but there's a good chance people are saying that he's going to go to UT, so future UT star maybe. Let's hope.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, this offense could be lethal if Science Hill falls behind like they have the first 3 games this season.
Michael, let's talk about Knoxville Powell. I mean, you just heard Jesse talk about some of their players, and obviously it all surrounds Walter Nolan. He's a guy that, you kind of want to stay away from. What about offensively? There for a while they went toe-to-toe with Maryville, and then Maryville pulled away in the second half.
Yeah, they have a ton of athletes, like Jesse mentioned. I mean, that program just churns out talent. And I know that they're going to be relying, especially on their defensive side of the ball. Look at this guy. Nolan's huge. This is some video from the Jamboree that they had this summer. He's huge.
That's horrible coaching, though.
I think
one-on-one? Come on now.
I know, right? I mean, Baylor Brock, Science Hill running back. I know you had some fun running the football the last few weeks, but be careful running into that guy. I mean, definitely go on the other side of the line. I know Stacey Carter's going to be ready for that. Try to get some tosses and get Brock on the outside because you do not want to go in the middle of that. And pretty similar to Rashad Clarity on Greenville, who's obviously not on the scale of Nolan, but I think it's interesting to think about some guys that are really big up front. Science Hill knows that, and I think they have enough to be able to start airing it out. Luckily, Powell has some weapons there in the secondary, but Diamond, we know he can pick apart a lot of secondaries. We've seen him do that here the last couple of years. He did that against Westridge, obviously different caliber with Westridge and Powell, but I think Diamond's starting to get a lot of confidence after that week 1 loss at Elizabethton. I think he understands what it takes, and he knows that he's got a good chemistry with his weapons. So we could see them start flying it around.
It looks like Walter Nolan likes to play on the right side. So, folks, tomorrow night everything will go to the left. So you might want to stay on that side of the field when you go to that contest. Powell and Science Hill, that at Tipton Stadium, first time on the new rug we just talked about. Should be a good one. Let's head to Southwest Virginia. J.I. Burton and Union is our Game 5. We haven't checked in with the Union Bears yet, so we better do so now. The team made the Class 2 state semifinals. They're back with another loaded squad this year, and they showed that in Week 1, winning big over Lee. Now they get ready to take on a J.I. Burton team that has gotten off to a surprising 0-2 start. That's not like a Raiders team. Well, not on this level. They get started. Yeah, that's my team. I can bust on.
Oh, my gosh.
At an 0-2 start. Let's talk about Union, though. This has been a good team over the years.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, you see some of these guys right here in this video right now for our 2-days segment, but one thing that kind of stood out to me with this Union squad is how big they are. Not just up front, not just the defensive and offensive linemen. I'm talking about the second, third levels, quarterback, running backs. Everyone's huge on this team. And I think Union has plenty of momentum going into the season. Yeah, I know they beat Lee 56-8, for their first win of the season, but I think they're looking past that and looking more on the spectrum of state championships. I mean, this Union team is littered with talent, and they have a lot of kids that have a lot of experience underneath their belt. When that experience comes together, I mean, we've all seen it, no matter what sport it is, that when it comes together, it leads to a lot of success. So I think Union has high expectations, not only on themselves, but on this team as well, for guys to step up and be able to not only, reach those expectations, but go far beyond them as well.
Michael, let's talk about this Raiders team. We just said they're 0-2. Can you put your finger on what has been the problem?
Oh, it's tough. I mean, I don't get it. They have so many talented guys. Esau Teasley is just an unbelievable running back. I think that, I can't remember how many points they put up in these 2 games, but I know that he's able to find the end zone. He did a ton last year in that spring season, so I know they got to start looking out for him. This is a tough task. I mean, Union's big. As you mentioned, Jesse, they faced Appomattox in the state semifinals. Appomattox is a state powerhouse, but they showed up in that game. They made it close in the first half, and they looked pretty big compared to that factory of Appomattox. So I think they understand that this is a big-time matchup. I think Burton, they have pretty high hopes for their region, and obviously this is a non-region game. So they're going to take this one with some confidence, knowing, hey, let's try to get this going and knock off a big-time power. But I know that, Jamin Buchanan at quarterback, he's going to try to make some plays with his legs as well as with his arm. I think the defenses so far in those first 2 games have done a pretty good job of containing him, so I know he's going to try to break out in this one.
Let's go to our final matchup. That's going to be Ridgeview against Wise Central. This is going to be a good Mountain 7 showdown between these 2 teams. Ridgeview had high expectations last year, hoping to ride Trenton Atkins to a big spring, but that got off to a tough start when the Warriors stunned them with a 14-7 loss win in Week 1. That catapulted Central to the top of the conversation in the conference, and now they face off tomorrow night. Jesse, Wise Central was a good team this past spring, and it looks like it's continuing right now into the fall.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. Braden Church, he has taken the reins under center. It's his first year starting, and it's crazy that we named him News Channel 11 Player of the Week literally after his first start. I mean, that's what you like to see. When a kid can step under center without any nerves. He was a little nervous, in his interview. He said that there was a little nerves there, but when he stepped in under center and was able to get that first throw, that first run underneath his belt, it all disappeared. He just stepped into his role like no one's business. And I think what he brings to the table for this Wise Central team is that he's able to air it out. He has that cannon if he wants to. Now, they did beat Marion 42-7 last week, so when you're up that much, you don't need to pass that much. You just want to run off the clock, and Wise Central, you know what they do. They know what they do. Everyone knows what they do. Wise Central loves to pound the rock down everyone's throat, and I think that especially is true for teams against like Ridgeview where, they know what they're expecting from Wise Central, and it'd be interesting to see, not with Trenton Atkins because he was a ball hawk on the defensive side, see what they're going to be able to do and see if they're able to shut down this Warriors team.
All right, Michael, let's talk about this Ridgeview team. I mean, losing that opening game, that shocked everyone. Is this a team that can turn things around?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Jesse, you were at their 2-a-days practice, took the hike up there. I know they have a good team. I know that they're going to be pumped up. They're playing on the road for this one, but they love their stadium, their new stadium that they're in. I know that they care a lot about their football team. I think they have a lot going for them. I think, losing Atkins is obviously really tough, but they know that Wise Central also lost some talented players, and this was a big moment for them last year. They had really high hopes last year, just like they did 2 years ago when they really contended for the Mountain 7 back in 2019. So I know that they are going to have some interesting things going for them, but to go all the way up to Wise, up to Norton, that's a tough task. Central's played really well there. Only lost, I think they lost 1 home game last year, which was just to Abingdon. So they know how to play at home, and that's going to be a pretty solid matchup for them.
Now, finally, that was our last game, Ridgeview and Wise Central. And before we get out of here, kind of a bittersweet night for us. I mean, it's always sweet that we get a chance to talk about high school football, but it's also the final show for one of the 3 amigos, that being Michael Epps. Michael has been really the carekeeper of the high school preview show. Last year when we were in the studio and this year online, we want to say thank you. You've done a tremendous job. And also we hope that you've been able to enjoy and take in football in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia.
Yeah, it's been great. Love it. Love doing this show. I think it's really cool that we started this up this year or last year, and I hope that everybody who's been able to watch has enjoyed it. I know, we keep up on the comments too, and people like to, check out their team. So it's been a lot of fun to do this show and also to do football around here. I know everybody loves their football, and so many great teams, so many great coaches that we've been able to talk to. I know you can attest to that, Jesse. A lot of really nice coaches, really nice players in this area. So it's been a pleasure. It's bittersweet. I'm going to miss you guys a lot, but it's definitely been real, and you got to keep it rolling. Got to keep it rolling next week.
Dude, he's going to start making me cry. How about that?
Tell you what, I know. I mean, get a little moist myself. I mean, we'll try our best to keep the juice up. Like always, we wish you the best in your future endeavors. You've gone from green to orange, and now you got to get ready for blue. So good luck to you in the future. Thanks for watching the Pro Football Preview, brought to you once again, and we thank them, friendshipcars.com. Make sure to watch us again every Thursday night for a preview of that week's game. Next week we'll include some Virginia games, a little bit more in the show as well. Week 1 of Touchdown Friday night is tomorrow night. That is not tomorrow night. Week 1 of Touchdown Friday night. Man, I think he got a little emotional when he was typing his last name. The week 4 Touchdown Friday night is tomorrow night, so don't forget to check out the highlights. Don't forget, we will be broadcasting the game that we talked about, Daniel Boone and Elizabeth, in that contest. It's going to be on ABC Tri-Cities. It begins at 7:30. I will be doing the play-by-play, and Jesse will do the color. As always, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Slater Teague running the controls here as always. Thanks. And have a great night, everybody.